Hi students, Mr. C in the wood shop here. I want to talk to you about the lathe and lathe tools. This is a wood lathe, and these are the tools and some of the accessories that you would use on a lathe. And what I'd like to do is just start off with just talking about what everything is that you would use on the lathe. Then we'll go ahead and show you how to prep a piece of material, and then go ahead and turn the lathe and use all the different tools properly so that way you know how to use them and what shapes they'll make while you're using a wooden lathe. Okay? So first thing is when you're setting up your lathe, you want to make sure that you have some marking tools to go ahead and mark your pieces up. Now, you have a combination square. You have a center finder for a round stock. And then you just happen to have some pencils. I happen to have 3 because lately manufacturers have been making too much of soft lead, so I need that, okay? These, just real quick, are scraping tools for finishing. These are gouges, and these 2 are skews. One's a large skew, one's a small skew. A caliper, the wrench to take face plates off of the machine, a spur drive, and both of these are lathe chucks, and then face plates and tool rests. Okay, so we'll address all these different things. Okay. First thing is I would like to show you what the first tool that you're going to use is a roughing gouge. A roughing gouge is a heavy steel, and what this is used for is taking the impact of a square piece of material. Like for instance, this piece of material here is square, right? Well, what we want to do on a lathe is we want to turn this square stock into something that's a cylinder. Okay? Well, to do that, you're going to take a pretty good beating, or at least the material or the tools will take a beating if it's not down to a cylinder. So these square edges here, as it comes around, as it's being turned, it'll hit the tool pretty hard. So you want a thicker, heavier piece of tool steel to be able to do that. So this is a roughing gouge, okay? So this tool is basically to help you make it into the square stock into a cylinder. So you'll be using this tool for that. These tools are both spindle gouges. One's just larger than the other. They both help you create curves on a lathe, and that's what we'll be using with those. There is no difference as far as the shapes that you make with them, but these are spindle gouges. These 2 tools right here, they're both skews. One's just larger than the other, and I'll show you how to use this. For the most part in the classroom, you'll be using these to go ahead and make V's, okay? Sharp angle V's, all right? Calipers, this will help you. You will go ahead and set this up. You may want to make some very specific in size, so you can use these to check the diameter of a piece of material. So like for instance, if your project called for, let's say, a 3-inch posted leg, you can go ahead, take this, set this up, and you can take the measurement, use a ruler as well. Let's say you're there, oh, it happens to be slightly under, so now you have to remake it. But it's just, I'm just saying, taking a guess, 3 inches, right? So these are calipers. These 2 I'll be addressing a little bit deeper in a different video. These are used for turning different objects, and you're going to use, this is called a lathe chuck. We have 2 different types here, but you'll be using these to make like bowls or vases or something like that. I can show you how to use those later. Face plates, same type of thing. We use these in conjunction with those to go ahead and make bowls, essentially. And then these 2 here, these are both tool rests. This just happens to be a 12-inch tool rest. This one happens to be a 6-inch tool rest. That's the only difference is the size, and the function is exactly the same, okay? So, whenever you're getting a piece of material and you want to take a square piece of material like this down and make it into a cylinder, what you have to do is you have to go ahead and prepare the material for mounting in the lathe. So what I want to do with this is whenever you have a piece of square stock, I'm going to take a straight edge. I'm going to mark corner to corner. Okay? So just mark this end, right? Now I need to mark the other end. This will help keep the material centered on the lathe, and also it'll prevent it from wobbling, okay? Now that I have this end is a square, or is an X. This is the center of the material. I'm gonna take this and turn this around. So that side's done, and I did the same exact thing on this side, but what's different here is I need to be able to cut along this way and this way on the bandsaw to prepare this end for the spur drive. So that way this can lock right inside of here. And I'll show you how you do that in 1 second. So I'll place this back down. So now I'm gonna grab my combination square. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set this up right where this intersects. And again, okay. Now, I did this because on the bandsaw, I'm just gonna go ahead and cut just a little bit into here. It's in line with this line right here. I'm gonna turn this over. I'm gonna mark this just in here so I can mark it there. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut a little groove here and here on this piece of wood on the bandsaw, and that will register, or allow me to register my spur drive into the material. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and take this over to the bandsaw. I better grab my safety glasses. Okay, so I'm gonna come over here. I maintain a 4-inch margin for safety, right? I've set this to be 1/8 of an inch above the material. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna turn this on. Now remember, whenever I'm using the bandsaw, I have to wait for it to get to full RPM before I cut, right? So I'm gonna wait here as it's spooling up. It's a big machine, so it takes a little bit. All right, so now it's running at full RPM. So I'm gonna make sure my hands are 4 inches away. You can see I marked right here on this board, and right here, which is the center of the material. So I cut there, I'm gonna rotate this over 90 degrees. This is when you're done working with this, before I walk away, it's kind of nice to do this. Loosen the guard up, bring this all the way down. That way it's less likely for anyone to put their hands in the way. I'll lock this in place so I stand here. And right now I'm going to wait for this machine to stop. But as you can see, I cut my groove in here. I'm going to grab my spur drive so you can see. Spur drive, go ahead and register right inside there like this, okay?